today I'm going to be doing a video. Since somebody asked me what DSLR I was using, and basically if it was any good for astrophotography and whatnot. So I figured I'd do this little YouTube video. One thing I want to mention real quick is this is not a long-term solution to my astrophotography. I just wanted to basically get a DSLR and try things out and see where they were going to go, and if they course to wanting to do more serious astrophotography, then I was going to get a dedicated CCD camera for astrophotography, which I'll talk about a little later if I remember. Alright, so this here is the Canon 450D DSLR, and I picked this DSLR up from off of eBay for just under $120, and it came with a kit lens and 2 batteries and some other stuff, a grip or something like that to add 2 batteries in. And yeah, so it was a good deal. It had roughly 30K shutter counts on it, which I know a lot of people don't think is a big deal, but it really is, because these DSLRs have what is known as a shutter release mechanism in them, and over time it wears down, and eventually it'll just freeze when you do a picture. So nothing's worse than having a DSLR that you're out and you're almost just about done, you know, with your last couple of images that you need to stack with your thing that you're doing, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, bam, you know, the shutter release jams on it, and you're wondering, what is wrong with my DSLR? What's going on, man? And you don't know that your shutter release has just failed on your DSLR and just ruined your night of astrophotography. So it's really important, if you're going to buy a used DSLR, man, you try to get one with low shutter counts on them, because I think in the 50K to 1000K mark is when I read most shutter releases normally fail. If they're going to fail, is they'll fail within the 50K range to 90K range to about 100K range of pictures taken, and that's when the shutter release will likely fail. But anyways, I don't want to go and hold around that. The reason why I bought this DSLR, and I'll show some sample pictures of it unmodded. I don't have any pictures of it not modded, and let you see that the picture wise what they look like of Ring Nebula, and I think I did one of the Lagoon Nebula. The thing that you want to know about this DSLR is if you don't astro mod it, basically there's a red cut filter that is in front of the sensor of the DSLR, and basically what that does is it kills your red. So the nebulosity in some of these deep space nebulas, they have red in them, and with that red cut filter being on this type of DSLR, it'll kill that red, so you won't see it at all in your images. So you have to take the red cut filter off, and if you want to increase the red, you need another filter which goes on the front of the sensor, or on the front of the mirror, which basically goes on the front of this when you're there's a clip that goes between the front of this, and it covers the front of the sensor, or the little thing there, and it'll help increase your reds and stuff. It's about a $50 I think filter that you can clip on to the front of the DSLR, and when you're doing your pictures, it'll help give a boost in red and stuff. But yeah, the reason why, like I said, that I went with this DSLR is price wise. Okay, so price wise, I want to get into astrophotography, but I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with it or not. So I didn't want to just break the bank and buy a DSLR, because I'm not into photography that much. I mean, I got my cell phone for that stuff. I want to do a little bit of pictures and stuff. So I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend. So I went on eBay, looking around, comparing it to Backyard EOS. I see, the thing is, I already had bought Backyard EOS, and I didn't have a DSLR to use, so I had to find a DSLR online that I could use with Backyard EOS, and this was the camera that was in my price range of just under $120, and I went with this DSLR, which is the Canon 450D or the Canon Rebel XSI. It's pretty easy to astromod. There are some minor hiccups that you should be aware of if you're gonna want a DSLR like this, and that's basically the problem with all DSLRs, is you have to take them apart. I think there might be some DSLRs that are more pricier out there that are good for astrophotography. I wouldn't know because I don't have the money to use that, and I wouldn't use a DSLR for astrophotography. Sure, they're great, yeah, but I'd rather get me a dedicated CCD that's designed for astrophotography, and you don't have to worry about a shutter release. And there you go again with shutter release. But trust me, you wouldn't buy a used car with a lot of miles on them. So it's the same thing when it comes down to a DSLR. If you ain't got the money to replace them all the time, which it varies, okay, but I don't want to go into a whole rant on that, but it varies. Sometimes these DSLRs will fail sooner. Sometimes they don't fail until later in the usage. But I'd hate to see when you guys get a used DSLR for like $150. You get like roughly 30 pictures out of it before the shutter release on this thing fails, and then you're in the middle of doing a long night of astrophotography, and the next thing you know, your camera just stopped working, because the shutter release failed on it. They'd do nothing to ruin a night. That's why, if you can, I wouldn't even recommend a DSLR for astrophotography. I know there's a lot of people that say DSLRs are great for astrophotography, but when it boils down to all the stuff you have to get into it, and if you're on a tight budget, well, you see, you got a backyard EOS, that's like $50 down the drain. You need a DSLR, which is about like $150+ depending on which one you got and which one you want. You have to astromod it so that you have to take the whole thing apart, and then you have to put it back together after you get the filter out of it. Then you have to get some filters to increase the reds and all that stuff in the nebulas. So you're looking at even more money into it when you could just simply pay like $200 and get yourself a CCD that will have all that hassle free with it. You don't have to worry about all the hassles of taking it apart, putting it back together, buying a filter for this and all that stuff, because it's already done for you. So I know a lot of people argue the differs on that, but you know what? It boils down to, if you want to astromod it, that's cool. I'm a first-time astromodder. I probably don't know if I'd ever do this again. Maybe if I had the same DSLR, I would, but yeah, I don't know if I'd ever do it again. Chances are, if you've been doing this for a while, astromodding, then you won't have a problem with that, and that's the reason why you like DSLRs. But if you're new to astrophotography, my personal opinion is I wouldn't recommend a DSLR unless you already have one that's already astromodded or something like that. But if it's not astromodded, then you're going to have pictures like what I showed in the video. You might not get those qualities at all. It might be even worse. But yeah. One thing I want to mention before I end this video is I did buy an extra adapter, a third-party adapter, which basically this here is a plug adapter that goes up into the battery compartment of my Canon 450D, and this allows me to use AC power instead of running batteries. So if I'm going to be doing a long night of astrophotography, I want to make sure that I have plenty of juice to get me by for that night. So yeah, that's why I went with this adapter, and it works great for the Canon 450D. And yeah, so anyways, if you guys have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comments below. I thank everybody for taking the time to watch this video. I know it probably wasn't helpful at all, but somebody requested to know what type of DSLR I use or what I use for astrophotography, and this is what I'm using currently. Long story short, I'm not going to use this for long term. I do plan to get a dedicated CCD camera for astrophotography, and don't plan to use a DSLR for long term astrophotography. I just only got it because I bought backyard EOS and I didn't want to be out $50. Anyways, if you haven't become a subscriber yet, please become a subscriber today and see future videos I release. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you again for watching.